For millions of years, creatures we would call monsters ruled the earth. They hunted, fought, communicated, and made sounds. Then they vanished. Their bones survived, their footprints survived, but their voices disappeared forever. So what did extinct monsters actually sound like? This apex predator of the late Cretaceous grew up to 12 meters long and weighed over 8 tons. Because soft tissues like vocal cords do not fossilize, researchers must find clues hidden in bone. They compare the giant theropod to its closest living relatives, crocodilians and birds, before examining the internal structure of the skull. High-resolution computed tomography scans of fossil skulls, including the specimens cataloged as TMP 98.86.01 and BHI 2033, reveal a complex network of air-filled sinus chambers. Cranial specialists have segmented these airways, measuring an internal nasal volume of roughly 1.8 liters. When analyzed using acoustic resonator models, this specific geometry filters sound down to a low-pitched fundamental frequency of 95 Hz. The predator's hearing apparatus matches this low-frequency spectrum. Fossil scans of the delicate inner ear otic capsule show a cochlear structure highly sensitive to sounds between 300 and 800 Hz. High-frequency screams would have been largely lost on this animal, which evolved to detect low-frequency vibrations. Without a preserved syrinx or larynx, the exact timbre of its voice remains a mystery, making any full-voiced roar pure speculation. Yet, the physical evidence indicates a closed-mouth infrasonic rumble, a low vibration that would travel miles across the prehistoric floodplains felt in the chest of anything nearby. Water changes the physical rules of sound. It is a dense, heavy medium where acoustic energy travels 4 times faster than in air, carrying low-frequency waves over vast distances with minimal loss. During the Miocene and Pliocene epochs, these ancient ocean corridors were ruled by Otodus Megalodon, an apex predator reaching lengths of 18 meters. Sharks possess no vocal organs, no larynx, no vocal cords. Their closest functional comparison group, modern lamniform sharks, produce no calls. If Megalodon produced sound, it was not through a voice, but through physical action. Biomechanical analyses suggest that jaw closure and body movement are the only plausible acoustic traces. A 50-ton predator, snapping its jaws shut, would create violent hydrostatic pressure changes. This sudden displacement of water could generate a low-frequency percussive thud, estimated between 50 and 100 Hz. In the ocean depths, other animals would feel this pressure wave through their skin and sensory systems long before any audible signal reached them. Yet, whether this giant ever made an active sound remains unverified. For an ambush predator, silence is a lethal advantage. It is entirely possible that the largest shark to ever live glided through the oceans in complete acoustic stealth, leaving only a sudden pressure wave in its wake. Deep within the ancient swamp forests of Colombia's Cerrejón Basin, a different physical limit emerges. Here, the fossil record yields the massive vertebrae and ribs of Titanoboa cerrejonensis, a giant constrictor reaching lengths of 13 meters and weighing over a ton. These stone remains preserve the sheer scale of the predator, but they hold no trace of the soft tissue needed to produce sound. To reconstruct its potential acoustic profile, researchers must look to modern boa constrictors, its closest living relatives. Snakes do not possess a larynx or vocal cords. Their sound production is entirely aerodynamic, generated by forcing air from the lungs through the glottis. Based on the scale of Titanoboa's fossilized ribcage, biomechanical models suggest a lung volume of roughly 2 liters. This massive respiratory capacity would translate into a deep, heavy hiss, focusing acoustic energy into a low-mid frequency band between 100 and 200 Hz. This was not an instrument for social communication. As a solitary ambush predator, Titanoboa relied on complete stealth to hunt in the dense tropical undergrowth. Long-distance vocalizations would offer no evolutionary advantage. Instead, its soundscape was likely confined to a short, defense-driven hiss or the dry, heavy friction of scales dragging over wet soil. Beyond these simple, breath-powered sounds, any theory of complex vocalization is unsupported by the physical evidence. The giant serpent inhabited a world of quiet stealth. On the windswept Ice Age steppes, survival for Mammoths primigenius depended on maintaining contact across vast open plains. Unlike solitary reptiles, mammoths relied on complex herd dynamics that required constant coordination over long migrations. Because their closest living relatives are modern elephants, scientists have a robust biological template for comparison. Elephants communicate using infrasonic rumbles down to 5 Hz, vibrations that travel through the earth itself. High-resolution imaging of mammoth cranial cavities and preserved hyoid bones reveals a massive nasal passage and trunk structure. This physical airway functioned as an acoustic resonator, filtering laryngeal vibrations into deep, low-frequency signals estimated between 15 and 25 Hz. Yet, even with these anatomical blueprints, the true soundscape of the mammoth is lost. Biomechanical models can reconstruct the raw carrying power of a 5-ton animal's throat, but they cannot recreate the actual patterns of communication. The specific dialects, family harmonics, and social warning calls of the herds remain entirely unreachable, locked away in the silence of the permafrost. During the Miocene epoch, the open grasslands of South America were dominated by forest racids, giant flightless predatory birds standing up to 2.5 meters tall. While pop culture depicts these terror birds unleashing high-pitched cinematic screams, the biological reality remains locked in silence. Because the avian vocal organ, the syrinx, is made of soft cartilage, it almost never fossilizes. To find their voice, paleontologists must study indirect clues. High-resolution scans of fossilized skulls, like those at the Museo de la Plata, reveal massive, hollow cranial sinuses and robust hyoid bones. By comparing these structures to modern relatives like the Seriema and the cassowary, researchers can estimate potential sound frequencies. Size scaling models suggest a fundamental frequency of around 300 Hz. Physical models point toward a low, resonant boom that vibrated through the soil, far different from any theatrical shriek. But did they possess a complex syrinx, or did they rely on simpler laryngeal hisses? Without soft tissue, the exact timbre of this ancient avian hunter is a mystery we may never solve. 360 million years ago, the Devonian oceans were ruled by Dunkleosteus, a 10-ton armored predator encased in plates of bone. Unlike modern sharks or mammals, this placoderm left no direct living descendants, leaving its acoustic profile almost entirely hidden. Without surviving relatives to guide reconstructions, researchers must rely strictly on physics and bone. Biomechanical models developed from fossilized skulls, such as the specimen CMNH7541, reveal a distinct 4-bar hinge jaw mechanism. When Dr. Mark Holliday and Dr. Sarah Miller simulated these shearing jaw mechanics, they discovered the rapid opening and closing could generate intense percussive clicks between 2 and 4 kHz. These were not vocalizations but raw mechanical impacts, the collision of self-sharpening bony plates and the sudden displacement of water. This is where the reconstruction of ancient sound reaches its absolute limit. A mechanical snap or a hydrodynamic pressure wave is a measurable physical event, but it is not a voice. With no fossilized trace of soft tissues, any potential vocal organs or respiratory chambers remain completely unknown. Dunkleosteus represents the ultimate boundary of paleoacoustics, a creature that filled the ancient seas with violent mechanical noise, but whose true voice remains permanently lost. The fossils tell us what these monsters look like. Their bones may reveal how they moved, but their voices are gone forever. And perhaps the most terrifying sound of all is the sound of something that has been silent for millions of years. Subscribe for more Untold History.